everybody, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video I have another Poundland DIY kind of autumn inspired decor video for you. That was a lot of words. Yeah, I went to Poundland on Monday, picked up some pumpkins, knew I had to DIY them straight away, just in time for my decorate my house with me video that's going to be coming right after my birthday, so on the week of like the 16th I'm hoping to do it. Yeah, so I decorated some pumpkins as well as that little kind of tray thing up there. So hopefully you enjoy the video and could take away some inspiration for yourselves. So for the first DIY, I'm actually going to be recovering this light up pumpkin that I found in Poundland. These are new out this year and they light up like all different rainbow colours. They're very glittery, very bright and very fun, but they're not kind of what I'm looking for. So what I went ahead and did was I took one of the grey tea towels in Poundland. I used the same tea towel to make the mini pumpkins recently and I just cut it up into little strips. What I then went ahead and did was cut off all of the edging of it, and then I basically just decoupaged the whole of the pumpkin with the strips of fabric. So I used some Mod Podge and I just obviously painted that on, popped the strip of fabric from the top of the pumpkin down to the bottom, then put some more Mod Podge on next to it, and then pop another strip on, making sure to overlap it so that all of the frayed edges stayed on the inside with only one raw edge showing. On the raw edge, keep most of the fraying to a minimum. I just used the Mod Podge to kind of seal all of that in, and I basically just kept going round and round and round with little strips of fabric. On the very last strip, I did it a tiny bit different, so I just popped it on and then kind of wrapped it around like I did on all the other ones, and I just actually cut it at an angle at the top so it didn't look like there was, you know, a rectangle of fabric on there, and it just kind of blended in a little bit better. I don't know, I just thought it worked a little bit better with cutting those bits off. I just kind of Mod Podged all underneath it, sealing it all in, and then once all of the strips are on, I then put one really thick layer of Mod Podge back on to seal in all of those bits, and then I left it to dry overnight. Once it was dry, I then needed to attach the stalk back on, so in order to do this, I just chopped off the bottom part, and with some hot glue, I just hot glued that down in place. For the second pumpkin, I actually used this purple one, and what I went ahead and did was mixed up some white chalk paint and some Mod Podge together in this little tub and just started painting away. I wanted to be able to seal in all of that glitter, so I thought the Mod Podge would be great, and then mixing in some paint as well. It also allowed me to cover it with that layer also. To cover up the face, because I didn't obviously want this to be a jack-o'-lantern, I just took some tissue paper and I just basically decoupaged over the face. I just paper maché'd it. Basically in the same way as the checkered tea towel I did in the first one, I just did the same thing but with paper on this one, using very, very small strips and just sealing in as I go, right over that face section so that it was all completely covered. I did do 2 layers of this, leaving it dry in between each layer, and then I left it to set overnight so that I knew it was going to be, you know, fully as hard as it possibly could be. I don't know, just so it all set. So the next morning, once that had all dried, I then realised there was these little bubbles on the pumpkin. This was there originally from, you know, the original pumpkin. It wasn't through the paper or nothing like that. So what I went ahead and did was took some sandpaper and just sanded away at those to make it nice and smooth, and then I went over with one final layer of that white chalk paint just to cover up any bits that I had sanded off or missed or anything like that, just to make it nice and opaque. I then took this twine pack that I bought from Hobbycraft recently, and I actually bought this to finish off a Christmas DIY this year that I was supposed to do last year but never got around to doing, so you know, I'm being prepared. I'm buying in the craft supplies now, so when it comes to Christmas crafts, I have everything. So anyway, I took the smallest one of these twines. It was kind of like a plaited white and normal natural twine, and I just hot glued it at the top, wrapped it round, hot glued it down the bottom and cut off the excess. So I had like a twine line going in between the segments just to really accentuate those. I went ahead and did the same technique all the way around the pumpkin, making sure at the top where the twine met so that they didn't overlap and it stayed as flat as possible. This was so that when I hot glued the stalk bit back on, it hot glued as close as possible. So I just went ahead and I chopped off the bottom of the stalky bit again, hot glued it, pushed it on and held it into place until the glue had set. For the third and final DIY, I basically did the same thing that I did on the first one, but with Hessian instead. I just Mod Podged it, stuck a strip down, Mod Podged it again, stuck another strip down, making sure to overlap those raw edges. I did this all the way around until it had fully set. So the thing is, I did run out of PVA glue at this point. So on a few bits I had to use like hot glue to keep it down in place. It turned out awfully messy and I do not recommend it, so I haven't kept that bit of the tutorial in. What I then went ahead and did was I took some chalk paint in the colour Hessian and I just basically buffed that into the Hessian on the pumpkin. I did water it down ever so slightly because the paint itself was really thick and I still wanted to see some of that texture. Now you're probably thinking, Chelsey, this looks rubbish. And whilst it's not the neatest pumpkin, I know, I think the contrast of this one compared to the other two works ever so slightly. I don't know. To make it a little bit less shabby and a little bit more chic, I then cut off all of like the loose bits of Hessian that were plonked on it, stuck on it, moulded to it because of the glue. So I think that helped out a little bit, but I know it does look a little bit rustic, but you have to bear with me on that. For the fourth DIY, basically the second one because all the others were pumpkins, I actually went in and I redecorated this lemonade crate thing. I don't know what you would call it, but this is something that I did as part of my summer DIYs, but I ended up changing my theme and I know I'm not going to be using this again, so I thought instead of buying another one, I'm just going to redecorate this one. So I sanded off all of the writing I did by freehand. Oh my goodness, that took me so long and it was so sad to paint over it, but you know, you got to make room for new things. I then went ahead and painted over the decoupage lemons on the side and freshened up the inside with the white chalk paint as well. On this DIY, I actually just chose not to freehand the letters because I don't know if I'm going to keep this one as a pumpkin or redecorate it at Christmas as well. So I suppose I'm going to show you another technique. To get the writing on this time, I just printed off some letters which I just typed out on the program Word, and then I printed them out on a like white tissue paper. You can also use tracing paper for this as well. You then want to cut out your letters and then you just want to decoupage them back onto it just by Mod Podging, sticking it down, Mod Podging again. You want to make sure to be really light-handed when you are doing the coat of Mod Podge over the text, depending on what type of printer you used. I use normal inkjet and it can sometimes smear a little bit if you're a bit too heavy-handed. So I just put the word pumpkins first of all, and then the pick your own at the top, and then the apple cider, blah blah blah, all underneath the original pumpkin, so that it was all kind of centered. I then moved on to the sides, and where I previously had the lemons, I just popped on some little pumpkins, and this was just in the exact same way that I did the letters. I just printed it out on some white tissue paper and then just decoupaged them on. So I actually chose a green and blue pumpkins just because this is a theme that I'm going for, and I thought if I put two of them on the same thing, it kind of brings my theme together because we already have quite a lot of sage green in my kitchen and I want to bring some more blues into the mix in the coming months. So with the original text, I just wanted to blend it in a little bit better, so I basically just whitewashed it with a watered down white chalk paint on my brush, and I did the same with the pumpkins on the side. So that is the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know which of the three pumpkins was your favourite. Mine definitely goes in the order of like the buffalo check one, the white one, and then the Hessian one. But I think together, collectively, they work really well and balance each other out, which is exactly what I was trying to go for with the textures and the colours as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up, as it really does help me to gauge what type of videos you guys like to see more, as well as helping me out with a few bit of engagement. I don't know. This is kind of a two-way street, you know. I'm making these videos because I want to, but also because I know you guys like them back. Otherwise, I would just be making this for myself and not going through the hours of work that it takes to film it and then edit it on top of what I'm already doing. So yeah, if you don't like it, then what's the point, you know? It's a two-way thing going on. Me and you, we got this connection, you know? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you very soon for another DIY. Bye!